Tokyo DisneySea is known for being one of the best theme parks in the world. Part of owning that title means that the attractions within the park's gates are some of the most creative, inspired, and enjoyable attractions out there. So surely when you take Indiana Jones Adventure, one of the best attractions at Disneyland, and you give it the special DisneySea treatment, you end up with one of the best attractions in the world. Right? On March 3rd, 1995, Indiana Jones Adventure Temple of the Forbidden Eye premiered at Disneyland in California. With an estimated budget of $50 million or roughly $100 million today, it debuted as the most advanced amusement attraction ever built. The ride spanned 2 stories in an insane 50,000 square foot show building, with the queue alone being half a mile long as it needed to traverse beneath the existing Disneyland Railroad. The attraction was insanely ambitious, but it was worth it, as upon opening it was considered an immediate success. Many praised the ride's sheer scale, immersive environment, enhanced effects, and its one-of-a-kind innovative ride system, the Enhanced Motion Vehicle, or EMV for short. Despite everything else the attraction did right, the EMV was the crown jewel of Indiana Jones Adventure. This new system married a motion platform similar to Star Tours with a slot car. This allows the vehicle to self-propel itself through the attraction, whilst the motion base simulates enhanced movement, such as driving over rough terrain or banking through a turn, thus the name Enhanced Motion Vehicle. If you are interested in this ride system, we explore it in much greater detail in a previous video. When the Indiana Jones Adventure opened, Tokyo DisneySea was just around the corner, and with the success of the ride, it made sense for Walt Disney Imagineering to build a second version of this ambitious attraction within an equally ambitious park. But this might not have always been the case. Plans for a second gate in Tokyo were first conceived in 1987. It was initially meant to be similar to Disney MGM Studios, with the very succinct and creative name of Disney Hollywood Studio Theme Park at Tokyo Disneyland. Plans for this park were later scrapped in 1992, and it was rumored that this was due to Oriental Land Company officials, the licensee and owner of Tokyo Disneyland, being largely unimpressed with Disney MGM Studios. OLC didn't want something different. They wanted Tokyo Disneyland 2.0, which is ultimately what Tokyo DisneySea would become. Instead of a castle, you have Mount Prometheus. Tomorrowland became Port Discovery. Small World is Sinbad, and so on. What better place to call the next Indiana Jones Adventure ride home than what was essentially Disneyland 2.0? However, the owners of the Oriental Land Company gave Disney an ultimatum. This version of the ride must be more reliable than the Disneyland original. This new Indiana Jones Adventure opened its doors alongside DisneySea on September 4th, 2001. The attraction had some key differences to the original though, with the most obvious being a name change to Indiana Jones Adventure Temple of the Crystal Skull. These changes would largely make sense given the transition to a Japanese market. When constructing the ride for Tokyo, they decided that Disneyland's Indiana Jones ride setting of Asia wasn't exotic enough for the Japanese guests. Instead, the entire Central American land of Lost River Delta was created to give the ride a new home, which married better with DisneySea's usage of ports of call instead of lands. Lost River Delta is a dated settlement situated at the fringes of an ever-advancing rainforest. Here, renowned archaeologist Indiana Jones has discovered an ancient Aztec pyramid that he believes is the resting location of the legendary Fountain of Youth. But Indy has reported back that the temple is filled with booby traps and skeletal remains of those who have befallen them. His Central American assistant Peiko, though, has completely disregarded this warning and is now offering Peiko's temple tours, where he will take guests deep into the pyramid via his fleet of jungle jeeps. And you are about to undertake one of these tours. Entering the land, you are instantly drawn to this pyramid. Rather than trying to hide the facade and show building as they do in Anaheim, here they make it large and imposing, drawing you in. Walking towards the temple, you enter not where you might expect, as you first walk quite far to the right of the temple where the queue begins. Weaving your way through thick foliage, you soon find yourself inside the Temple of the Crystal Skull, which has no relation to the fourth Indiana Jones film, with this ride opening 7 years before that film would debut. Once in, you are greeted by an active archaeological dig site inside an impressively large central chamber. You have now worked your way inside the temple pyramid you saw earlier. Similar to the Californian attraction, the scale of this queue alone at DisneySea is truly impressive. Electrical lights strung together haphazardly flicker as you make your way through the temple. Weaving your way up the scaffolding, you start to see paintings depicting the crystal skull, warning you of the risky journey ahead. From the main chamber, you venture into a cylindrical antechamber, where to the left is a golden medallion flanked by small windows, and on the right is a huge map. From time to time, light flickers through one of these windows, reflecting onto the golden medallion, which in turn shoots a pinpoint onto the map on the far wall, with the point on the map being a direct reference to Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first Indiana Jones film. You continue your journey through catacombs as you venture deeper and deeper into the temple, where you eventually arrive at a screening room. After watching the safety film, you move into a load station that will look quite familiar to those of you who have ridden the California version of this ride. Pulling up next to you is a Jeep that looks identical to its Cali counterpart, but there are some key differences. The earlier version of the EMV used oil hydraulics, which would regularly spring leaks and require lengthy cleanups. This new version uses electric motors and air pneumatics to solve that problem. This starts an overall theme for this iteration, as it's clear that Tokyo learned from the problems that eventually plagued the Californian attraction's more ambitious additions after opening. Oriental Land Company didn't want ambition, they wanted reliability. This means that journeying through the ride, you will notice the abundant similarities and differences between the original and the Tokyo DisneySea version of this ride. We're not going to point out every single one, but see how many differences you can spot if you're familiar with the original. After buckling up and securing your loose belongings, the ride starts with you racing around the corner, where you find yourself in the Chamber of Purity, where ancient explorers were said to bathe and cleanse themselves before heading further into the temple. The doors swing open to reveal the crystal skull itself, and Peiko warns you to sneak by, as you don't want to disturb it. But disturb it, you do, as the skull begins to unleash its supernatural powers, glowing and shooting out beams of light from its eyes. Speeding away, you start heading towards the now opened gates of doom, where you are met by Indy, attempting to keep the doors closed. Whipping to the left, you enter the main chamber of the ride. A swirling vortex sits in front of you, and a giant skull is guarding this cavernous chamber. Heading back into a side cavity, you weave past skeletons and skulls before being plunged into darkness, with only your headlights left to illuminate the countless bugs crawling across the walls. In front of you lies a precarious bridge. As you cross it, the skull shoots lasers from its eyes, attempting to hit you, leaving the bridge swinging and swaying. Barely making it across, you are truly left on your own, as you come face to face with a giant embodiment of the Mesoamerican feathered serpent deity. Narrowly escaping this serpent, you enter the giant skull and find a shrine inside, where another angered crystal skull screams at you. You enter a further pitch black room where suddenly a large stone-carved face comes into view. Angered by your presence, he shoots out a huge smoke ring towards the ride vehicle, which hits you dead on. Your Jeep then comes to a complete stop as you notice the carved stone heads on the walls have dart tubes pointed directly at you. Your Jeep roars to life and bypasses them before being greeted by the ride's big, familiar finale. Hanging from the roof, you see Indy himself, and before long, he is joined by a large boulder that comes rolling towards you. It barely misses you as you crash through the floor, where you see Indy for the final time, safe and sound, bidding us farewell as we enter the unload station, where you jump off and can buy your on-ride photo of the moment you almost got crushed by a giant rolling rock. While a lot of the scenes are similar to that in Anaheim, they all feature fully fledged set pieces rather than simply painted flat walls. On paper, this version sounds like the ultimate version of this ride, but in making it more reliable, they removed some of the effects that truly made it incredible. While the swirling vortex is fine, it doesn't hold a candle to Mara shooting lasers out of her eyes and setting off fireballs. And to some, the blue hues of the ride don't quite emit the same level of excitement and adventure as the reds and oranges of the original. Ultimately though, this ride is still a genuine marvel of Imagineering, but in a spectacular park like DisneySea, it's often forgotten about by people who have ridden and enjoyed the original. But over to you, have you gotten to ride the Tokyo DisneySea version of this attraction? And if so, how did you enjoy it? For ReviewTyme, I'm Luke. Thanks for watching.